Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show that ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Leigh Brandon. He is a functional medicine and CHEK practitioner. He is the host of Radical Health Rebel podcast. Welcome to the show, Leigh.
Thanks very much for having me. It's great to be here.
You're welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll be focusing on acne, skincare, and nutrition. So first, to understand from you, Leigh, why do you talk so much about acne? You are a podcast host. You could talk about so many other things. You as a functional expert, medicine expert, you could be talking about something else. Why focus so much on acne, on nutrition, on skincare?
Well, the main reason, I guess, is because I suffered myself for 18 years. So from the age of 13 to sort of 30, 31, I suffered on and off from really severe cystic acne. And no matter how many times I went back to my doctor, I just wasn't finding any solution. And, thinking back to those times, if someone's not had acne, you might think of someone else with acne. Skin doesn't look very nice. It's not so much the physical problem, it's the psychological, mental, emotional distress that it causes people. It can really crucify your confidence and your self-esteem. And I see lots of people out there in the same situation that I was in all those years ago. I mean, I've been pretty much acne free for probably 22 years now, something along those lines. And I see all these people out there that are suffering in the same way that I was, and they don't need to be. They just need to find the answer. And, fortunately, I do have the answer for people that have acne. And what I also found, and this is, I cover this a lot in my latest book, is that a lot of the pharmaceutical so-called treatments to acne actually cause quite severe side effects. And again, there's a whole chapter on that in my book. And, a lot of people are not aware of all of these potential side effects. And, at the end of the day, they don't need to get those side effects because there are other solutions. And I guess the key difference between my approach and what, say, a medical doctor may advise to someone is that my approach addresses the root cause of someone's issue. Whereas if you go to see a medical doctor or a dermatologist, their treatments are going to be treating symptoms, not the root cause. Now, the problem when you're treating a symptom is you have to continually keep treating it. Otherwise, it comes back. But what I found with the treatments I received, they actually made my condition even worse. So what I teach people to do is I teach people how to heal themselves so that acne never comes back and they don't need to have acne treatment in the future.
Right. And so that is where the question comes. How? How do you do it naturally? As they say, prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
So how can we go for, prevention and the cause of it? Why does it happen? With some people, it is very severe. With some people, it is not there. With some people, it is a part of, growing up. So help us understand. You talk mostly about, eliminating adult acne for good. So that's the name of your book also, upcoming latest book. Help us understand in this backdrop. Several things at the same time, but you are the expert and these are all interrelated. I thought, why not you answer them at your own pace?
Sure. So the first thing, if I can address what the cause is. Now, there isn't a cause, but there's multiple causes. So that's the first thing to consider. And each individual person can have a different cause. So there's a lot of different people I've given different advice to help them overcome their acne. So I would say where I start with most people is that someone's diet is a major factor. Now, quite interestingly, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of people of Indian origin that live in the UK. And I do see a lot of people of Indian origin with acne. And again, it could well be, diet related. But one of the key things about diet and acne So if we eat foods which are considered high glycemic, which means they increase the level of sugar in the blood very quickly, what happens is they also trigger specific hormones, in particular insulin and another hormone called insulin-like profactor 1. And what they do is they stimulate sebum from the sebaceous gland. So sebum is what is secreted in the hair follicles to help moisturize the skin. But it's the sebum and also an increase in skin cell production, which also these foods do. So the sebum becomes thicker, more sticky. You've got more skin cells. And then what happens is, and again, this is theoretical, but what happens is they block the hair follicle, and then the bacteria that naturally live on the skin, they are able to proliferate by eating the sebum and the skin. So it's basically fats and proteins. And then because they proliferate, we get an immune response, which creates the inflammation, which creates the redness. So eating foods that are high in sugar or will create a higher insulin response is one of the key things. Like if someone wants to do one thing to help their acne, that would be the number one thing that I would suggest people do, is to reduce the amount of high sugar foods in their diet. That would be number one. Another thing that can cause acne, and again, it's still diet related, is food sensitivities. So a food sensitivity is something where your immune system will attack a particular protein in a food and create inflammation. So again, reducing or eliminating those foods is really important. Another thing, again, is food related, is also people's gut microbiome. So our gut microbiome is the makeup of bacteria, viruses, and other microbes. And if there's an overgrowth of a particular type of bacteria, or it could be fungus, or it could be parasitic worms as well, they give off specific toxins. Now, another potential cause of acne is toxins. So again, the theory goes is that when your detoxification system, so we're talking about the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, but also the skin. So when our system is overloaded, if you like, the skin does more of the work to release toxins, and that can also cause blockages in the skin, in the hair follicles, and that can also lead to acne. So rebalancing someone's microbiome is really important. Another thing to consider is, and it's still on the topic of toxins, in today's society, we've got masses of toxins in our environment. So identifying which toxins are in your environment and trying to minimize or replace those toxins in your, some you can't get rid of. I mean, I don't know, I've never been to India, but what we hear on the media is that, because India's, in a state of prosperity and starting to increase industrialization, there's a lot more coal being burnt, as an example. So again, there you've got heavy metals being released into the air. Well, there's not much you can do to stop that, right? Unless you take over the government and change your whole energy system, right? And then leading on from that, there is also ways in which you can release toxins that are already stored in the cells of your body. So what mammals do, and we're mammals, is that we tend to store or bioaccumulate toxins in our fat cells. And the reason we do that is protective, because if the toxins were attacking our organs, our glands, our nervous system, that would cause more of a problem. But what happens is, once we store them in our cells, sometimes there's no natural way to get them out. And there are certain things that we can do, detox protocols, cleanses, to help encourage them to come out of the body. And then the final thing, and this is all very briefly, the final and least important thing is, in my opinion, is what you actually put on your skin. And that tends to be where most medical professionals tend to aim their treatments. It's what do you put on someone's skin? Well, my view is if you're putting something on your skin to treat your acne, it's already too late. The acne is already there, right? But there are certain things that I do recommend. So people often say, you've got acne because your skin's dirty, you need to wash more. It's actually a complete opposite. So what we do know is, in terms of our skin, is that the pH level or the acid alkaline balance of our skin is very delicate. And our skin and the bacteria, the healthy bacteria on our skin, prefers a slightly acidic environment. Now, when we use things like soaps and shower gels and shampoos and conditioners, all those things, it makes our skin more alkaline. So it makes us more susceptible to acne. So a recommendation I got from my doctor in the US, actually, Dr. Julia Greenberg, she says you should only wash your pits and your bits with soap. Okay, so she's talking about your armpits and kind of your genital area, right? Yes, wash those. Just let water clean everything else. Okay, and I think that's really, really great advice. There are some specific things putting on your skin can also help. So my number one, my go-to, if you like, is aloe vera. So aloe vera gel is really great for people with, well, I would say for anyone with skin, to be honest, but particularly with acne, because it acidifies the skin. So it really reduces the possibility for acne, but it's also very cooling and it also reduces inflammation. So aloe vera is kind of my favorite I go to. There are others, and I do talk about others in the book. But then I also talk about some skin cleanses that you can do as well with things like apple cider vinegar, castor oil, olive oil, things like that you can do periodically as well. But as I say, that what you actually do on your skin itself is what I would class as the icing on the cake. It's not really the main thing that you really need to focus on, because acne is what I call an inside job. Your skin is quite a good barometer of how healthy you are on the inside. So that's kind of my summary and my very quick overview of what I believe causes acne and how I go about helping people to reverse their acne.
Absolutely, absolutely, Lee. And also, you mentioned about the importance of rest and sleep to recover from acne. Help us understand a bit about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the things that I think, and I think a lot of people, even people that are quite good at helping people with acne, there are a few of us around. I'm not the only one. One of the things that they possibly miss is the fact that when we're in a state of stress, now if we don't get enough rest and sleep, we are in a state of stress.
Right.
And what happens is when we're in a state of stress, regardless of what the stress is, what happens is we get the same hormonal response. It doesn't matter if it's you're arguing with your spouse or you're being chased by a lion, the hormonal response is the same, right? Some people might think that the lion's the better deal, but that's another story. But what happens is that we release stress hormones, in particular cortisol, and part of cortisol's job is to break down muscle tissue to increase. So what it does, it breaks down the muscle tissue, extracts what we call muscle glycogen, which is sugar, and the glycogen goes into the bloodstream so that you can fight or flight. So you can either run or fight. So you need the energy in the muscles that you're going to make you run or to fight. But if you're stressed and you're not exercising, then what happens is that blood sugar needs to go somewhere. Now, for some people, that can lead to being overweight as well. So not getting enough rest and sleep can make people overweight. But because you're increasing the level of blood sugar, again, you're creating that cascade, if you like, of enabling more sebum to be produced, more skin cells to be produced, and therefore you're able to create, if you like, more acne in your body. So getting enough sleep is really important. I generally recommend people get to bed by around 10 p.m. Certainly asleep by 10 30 p.m. at the latest and get at least 8 hours sleep a night. And also just making sure that every day by day you're getting enough rest to recover from the activities of each day. Because if you don't, it adds up day by day by day by day. And if you've got acne and you're already running on empty, you're going to find it very difficult to turn the corner.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is why you are writing your book, Eliminating Adult Acne for Good. Who is this book for? Is it for everyone or only for those people who are suffering from it, from acne? Or and what have you covered in this book? Help us understand so that people can. And also, how do you get this book? And where do you get this book?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is the book was written predominantly for people with acne, hence the name. Now, it does say adult acne, but if it's a teenager, they will benefit from the same procedures. Part 2 of the book is the step-by-step, what people need to do. Part 1 of the book is more the background. It talks about my own history with acne. It talks about the causes of acne, and it talks about why the medical community and their treatments don't really work, and also I go into detail about their side effects. And again, I'm not telling people what to do. They can read the book and decide whatever they want, but at least they've got the education to make that decision. But for anyone, if they pick up the book and they read part 2, so chapters 3 to chapter 9, if they followed those recommendations, almost anyone would improve their health quite considerably, I would say. So anyone could benefit from reading the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, you have your online coaching program, Eliminate Adult Acne Coaching Program, as you say. Help us know more about it so that people who want to connect can connect with you.
Yeah, so the two go hand in hand, if you like. A lot of the material, a lot of the advice is the same between the book and the coaching program. Now, there's a reason why I've got a book and there's a reason why I've got a coaching program. The coaching program is a group coaching program. Now, I devised that so that I would be able to still coach people to overcome their acne, but because it's in a group format, it's at a reduced price. So if someone's working with me one-to-one, that's the most expensive option, and people want to do that, that's great. If people on a little bit of a budget, then the coaching program is probably the best. But then I've had many conversations with people that say, well, I still can't even afford your coaching program. And that is why I wrote the book, because, in English money, it's £19.99, which, I'd imagine most people can afford to change their life. It will be life-changing when people go through the procedures in the book. But the book and the coaching program, the information is practically the same. The main difference in the coaching program, you also get coaching sessions. So Zoom calls, and you're going through in the course, there's lessons or modules, and each module there's lessons. So in the book, there are chapters. On the course, there are modules, and each module has a number of lessons. And then each week on the coaching program, there are group coaching calls where you can come on and ask me any question that you have in terms of implementing the advice, because everyone always has challenges. I realize we live in the real world. Not everyone can just, if I say to someone, right, I want you to do this, they can just go off and do it. They might have a question. They might say, well, you asked me to do that, but where do I buy that from? Or I had real trouble with this because, my wife didn't want me to do that. And, I've been a practitioner for 27 years. So there's almost no question I've not ever heard before. So I've got the solutions when people come across challenges. So they're the main differences between the online coaching program and the book. If people want information on the coaching program, they can go to a website called skinwebinar.com. And if people are interested in the book, it is available for pre-order on Kindle. So if you go to Amazon, you can pre-order. It will be out officially in paperback on the 23rd of November. If people can't wait and they want to get the book today, then they can order it direct from my website. And I do have a stock now, and I can send them out now. And my website is www.bodychek, so that's bodychek.co.uk. And if you put in /books, you'll actually see all the books that I've written. And the first one on there is Eliminating Adult Acne for Good.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what do you talk on your Radical Health Rebel podcast, so that people can benefit from that too?
Yeah, so when I first started the podcast, I said I would talk about anything as long as it's health related, because I do work with a variety of people. But in the last kind of 6 months, I'm trying to focus more on the areas that I tend to work the most in. So skin health, gut health, but also persistent pain. So I also work with people that've got, back pain, shoulder injuries, knee injuries. I do sports injuries as well. But occasionally I still talk about any subject, but the most of the time I'm talking about skin health, gut health, and persistent pain.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.